The question is, what are the 5 possible hats that exist in your property business? Which ones you are using and which ones you should be using consciously? Let's have a look. In the property business, there are 5 different hats that, at least in my opinion, you need to be conscious about. One of them is the operator hat. The other one is the manager hat. The next one is the owner hat. The fourth one is the investor hat. And the fifth one is the entrepreneur's hat. Now, all these hats are very important for a business. And depending on the size of your business, you might be using one or two or all of them. The important bit is that you need to understand which hats you ultimately need to be using and how you optimize your whole growth to actually focus on the most important ones, which then in time will allow you to reach your goals. Now, let's expand a little bit more about these hats so you understand in case you're new to this concept. Now, if in your property business you are painting the walls or you're fixing the fences or you are attending your property as the plumber, then you are the operator. And there is nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing consciously and you understand that by working as an operator, you might as well be earning a minimum wage for that business. Now, it depends how you designed your property business. I know landlords who actually have 2 or 3 properties and they live around. They decide to do the repairs themselves because it's a lot cheaper for them and then save money on that front. The problem is that that landlord is using his or her time to do low value added tasks, which means that if the landlord has a goal to increase or expand that portfolio, then all his or her time is going to spend in these sort of tasks. Now, most of us have more time than cash. And yes, sometimes it feels like it's easier. We always have time to go and do these operator tasks. But in the long term, that's the most expensive decision you can make. Now, if after finishing all those repairs, you go home and then you need to start dealing with tenants requests or council requests or council tax or bills issues, now you have become the manager of that property because you are looking at what needs to be done, planning, and also get it done. So that's a mixture again of manager and operator. But if you're looking again to expand your portfolio, that's still not the best use of your time. And the thing is here that you tend to spend more time with the hat that you feel most comfortable with. And that's very, very dangerous to do. So if you feel really comfortable doing DIY jobs, that's where you're going to spend your time if you don't think about this consciously. If you enjoy more organizing and making sure your business runs smoothly, then you are looking more towards being a manager. The next hat is the owner. When you are actually dealing with banks, signing documents, signing contracts, buying more property, and you are in that whole process, then you have become the owner of, in that sense, of that hat, and you are using it. And this is more towards what you should be doing. Having said that, still very operational for your business. The next hat is the investor. Once you get to accumulate some additional money from different sources of income, then you need to look at where that money is going to go or where that money is going to be invested so you can expand your portfolio. But now you can see that if you're spending all your time being a operator or a manager, then you won't have much time to put that hat of an investor. And that becomes the problem because as an investor, you need to be thinking about risk. Is this council good? is this council not good, or the regulations that this council is introducing are actually something that's going to affect you? Is the budget that was just published something that is going to increase or decrease the profitability of your business? All of that thinking time is what an investor needs to be doing, evaluating different potential places where to put the money so the return on investment is best achieved in different assets. It doesn't have to be really 100% property, but working as an investor is super critical for you to be able to expand that portfolio. Now, the property business has something very special to it, which is capital intensive. It doesn't matter how much cash you have, you soon are going to run out of it to get your next property. And there's where you make a decision of whether you want to be just the owner, an investor on a few properties, or you want to make out of property a whole business. And if you want to make that decision, this fifth hat, which is the entrepreneur's hat, is something that you need to learn and you need to put on. And this entrepreneur hat is the one that's going to allow you to use most of your intellectual capital to generate financial capital. And what I mean by that is that by using your sales skills, your marketing skills, your entrepreneurial skills, you can go and serve other people to make their investments easier, and in that way generate cash, which you can work with the investor hat to generate to expand your portfolio. So those 5 hats are super important depending on your goals. But what you need to do all the time is you need to think about how you are working up the ladder. You don't want to be the operator. You don't want to be the manager. And you need to work towards being the owner, investor, and if you wish, because that's a very personal decision, become the entrepreneur who's using your intellectual capital to generate that financial capital I just mentioned. Now, you need to consciously choose every week where you are spending your time and which hats you're using. One of the ways I use is to plan my weeks in a way that I follow the money. That is, at least 70-75% of my time, the one that I schedule, needs to be scheduled on activities for my entrepreneurial hat, investors, and owner hat. And this for you is actually very simple to use. Take a calendar, could be an electronic one or could be a paper-based calendar, and then plan your week ahead. And once you finish planning your week ahead, try to understand and analyze whether you are spending more time being an operator, being an entrepreneur, being a manager, etc. That's the first analysis, and especially the first habit that you need to put in place so you understand the rhythm and you consciously know where you are putting your time into. And when I say the word habit, this is very important because when a habit is developed, that means that you subconsciously are running this and you don't have to think about it. Now, to successfully do this in the long term, you need to develop another habit, which is continuously, you need to be growing yourself so your mentality goes to the next level, which is what I just explained. But also, you need to be growing the systems in your business, because to dedicate less time to be an operator or a manager and more towards an owner, an entrepreneur, and an investor, then you need to learn how to delegate as much as you can. But to delegate, you need systems. They could be simple systems. You don't need the last model of the ERP system. You can generate some systems yourself which allow you to keep records, have traceability, understand what's happened, and coordinate your team in a way they know what to do. They do it as per the local requirements, national requirements, so you can worry about being an owner, investor, or entrepreneur. That's the whole key to the game, apart from one thing, which is consistency and execution. And that is what most people fail on, because it's very easy to know what to do, but it's extremely difficult to do it, let alone execute with consistency. Now, for any endeavor in business, there are 3 things I need to understand that need to happen to be successful at anything. The first one is that you need to be consistent, which means you need to do things on a rhythm, and you need to do it so you don't break the chain. Do it consistently. Then the intensity. There is no use for you to go to the gym, stay there 5 minutes and then go home, because you could do that every day, stay 5 minutes and go home. That's consistency without intensity. The same thing that happens in business, in property. If you go to see one property every month, that's not going to be enough. But if you go and see one property every 2 days, then that's consistency and the intensity. But then the other one where many people fail on is longevity, which is the consistency over a long period of time with the right intensity. That's where things happen. And this can only be achieved if you have the need to succeed. Something I tell many people is this: in life, you're going to achieve what you need, not what you want. And an example I always give to people is that you might want a car, but you need to breathe. You will never stop breathing until you pass, but that car, you might get it or might not because you have a choice. But when you have a need to reach your financial goals because of you, because of your family, because you want to improve, because you understand the risk that exists just working for somebody else and depending on that person's decisions on your life, then is what you understand that there is a need for you to consistently execute with the right intensity and in the long term. So hopefully that shows you that these 5 hats are very important, and they are linked, like everything in business. They are linked to your mindset, they are linked to your systems, they are linked to how good an investor you are and how good an entrepreneur you are, and also for your need to achieve that success. So those are the 5 hats, and hopefully you take a time to think about this. Hopefully you took some notes, and then do what investors need to be doing all the time, is take time for thinking and how this could affect your portfolio and how you could use it to redesign the way you approach your weeks and redirect all your efforts to make the achievement of your goals a more certain outcome. This is Noel Cardona. If you have properties in Liverpool or Wirral that you want managed, please send us a message to info@propertycashflow.co.uk or send me a WhatsApp message to 07411 904 124. I'll be pretty much happy to start a conversation with you. See you in the next one.